You know how you can instantly tell the difference between someone's voice and, say, a trumpet, even if they're hitting the exact same note? Well, there's a hidden ingredient in sound that makes all that possible. And today, we're going to figure out what it is. So let's start with a little musical puzzle. It's this. Let's call it a sound identity problem that our brains are solving, literally, all day long without us even noticing. Okay, so here's the mystery. Picture this. You've got a flute and a violin. They both play the same note. Let's say it's an A, and they're playing at the exact same volume. And yet, you would never, ever mistake one for the other. So what's going on? What's the secret sauce? Well, if you break it down, the pitch, it's the same. The loudness, also the same. The difference, the thing that makes them sound worlds apart, lies in this third quality of sound, something musicians and scientists call timbre. That's our secret ingredient.
This quality, timbre, is what gives every sound its own unique vibe, right? Its color, its personality. It's the reason a trumpet doesn't sound like a cello, and it's why your best friend doesn't sound like your grandmother. So what is timbre, really? Well, the formal dictionary definition calls it the tonal quality of a sound and connects it to something called the frequency spectrum. Now, I know that sounds super technical, but stick with me, we're going to break it all down.
You know, here's another way to think about it, which I think is actually pretty brilliant. The American National Standards Institute basically defines timbre by what it isn't. It's everything that's left over after you've already described a sound's pitch, how loud it is, and where it's coming from.
And that brings us to the most important analogy for this whole thing. Just think of timbre as a sound's unique recipe. It's just like a cake, right? A cake is made of flour, sugar, and eggs in specific amounts, while a sound is made of different frequency ingredients in very specific amounts.
Okay, but how in the world do you figure out the recipe for a sound? I mean, for centuries, this was a total mystery. No one knew. And then, math came to the rescue. The tool that unlocks it all is called the Fourier transform. And yeah, the name sounds a little intimidating, but don't worry about it. Just think of it as this brilliant mathematical key that lets us take any complicated sound and see exactly what ingredients it's made of.
This slide lays it out perfectly. First, you start with the messy, complex wave of a real-world sound. Then, the Fourier transform acts like a prism, but for sound, splitting that one big wave into all of its pure, simple ingredients, these things called sine waves. And then, the final crucial step. It tells you exactly how much of each ingredient is in that recipe. And what's wild is that this whole thing wasn't even invented for music. Back in the early 1800s, this guy Joseph Fourier developed this math to figure out how heat moves through metal plates. But today, his work is absolutely everywhere. It's in the way we compress photos into JPEGs, it's in quantum physics, signal processing, you name it.
So, what happens when we take this incredibly powerful tool and we point it at musical instruments? We get something truly amazing. We get to see their sonic DNA.
The result of all this analysis is called a frequency spectrum. The best way to think of it is as a visual chart of the sound's recipe. It's a unique sonic fingerprint that is different for every single instrument and for every single voice.
All right, let's look at the violin's fingerprint. That first big bar, that's the main note you actually hear. We call that the fundamental. But a string also vibrates in smaller sections at the same time, creating these higher, quieter notes called harmonics. And for a violin, get this, the fifth harmonic is almost as loud as the main note itself. That's what gives the violin that rich, complex, almost singing sound that we all recognize.
Now compare that to a clarinet. Whoa, completely different recipe, right? The clarinet's fingerprint shows that its odd-numbered harmonics are way, way louder than the even ones. And this unique pattern is precisely what gives the clarinet its characteristic hollow, kind of pure tone. And listen, this isn't just some abstract music theory thing. The very same math that decodes a clarinet sound is what allows your car radio to tune into a specific station. It's just filtering out all the other radio signals to isolate one frequency. It's the exact same principle at work.
So we've got this incredibly advanced mathematical process for decoding sound. But here's where the story gets really mind-blowing.
What biological supercomputer do you think is constantly running this complex analysis on every single sound that it hears, every second of every day?
It's your ear. Your ear is a natural spectrum analyzer.
Deep inside your ear, there's this tiny, spiral-shaped organ called the cochlea. Think of it like a microscopic piano keyboard, where different parts are tuned to vibrate at different frequencies. So when a complex sound comes in, multiple parts of the cochlea vibrate at once, physically separating the sound into its ingredients. Your brain then gets this spectrum and instantly performs pattern recognition, telling you, oh, that's a violin. It's absolutely incredible when you stop to think about it.
Now, knowing the recipe for sound isn't just a cool science fact. It has fundamentally shaped how we build our instruments and compose our music. Take a look at this fraction, 1/7. It seems totally random, but it is one of the most important numbers in the history of piano design. So, it turns out that the 7th harmonic of a vibrating string is musically dissonant. It just doesn't sound quite right to our ears. So piano designers cleverly figured out that if the hammer strikes the string at exactly 1/7 of its length, it physically stops that dissonant harmonic from ever forming. It's this brilliant piece of acoustic engineering that creates a cleaner, more pleasing tone. And of course, composers are absolute masters of manipulating timbre. In Peter and the Wolf, Prokofiev used the low, woody timbre of the bassoon to represent the grandfather. And in Bach's famous air on the G string, the entire melody is played on just the violin's lowest, thickest string, creating this dark, somber timbre that gives the piece its incredible emotional weight. So the next time you listen to music, or even just the sounds of the world around you, remember that every single sound has a secret recipe. Your ear is decoding it, and your brain is understanding it. The question is, now that you know the secret, what new details are you going to start to hear?